This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. As always, if you have a topic you want to discuss or a comment on the podcast, feel free to text Scott Becker at 773-766-5322. This is 9 stories we're following today. First, the markets point up today significantly after a brutal week in the market last week. It's early in the day. Last week we got a head fake in the markets on Friday where they were headed up early on and ended up down significantly. So we'll see if that holds. Great piece on Reuters today. Futures rise following turbulent week. Again, last week a tough week in the market. Second, year to date, the markets are up as follows. The NASDAQ about 34%, the S&P about 17%, and the Dow about 6%. Third, oil close to $83 a barrel. Those prices have been rising. You see it at the pump. Bitcoin right about 29,000, and the one-year Treasury right at 5.36. We'll see if that starts to head up. Depends on what people expect the Fed to do. Fourth, one of the most fascinating books I've listened to in a while is by Dr. Peter Attia called Outlive, The Science and Art of Longevity. Just a fascinating book about sort of what he calls the 4 horsemen of death, which are cancer, heart disease, dementia, and then metabolic issues like diabetes and so forth. And he talks about sort of how you fight these and how you have to start to fight against these early on in life versus later in life. Nutrition, fitness, exercise, a number of other things to help stave off these deadly sort of symptoms, diseases, et cetera, but really well done and a fascinating writer and speaker. Fifth, we have a separate newsletter today on should you invest in private equity, 5 key questions. And to that point, thrilled to see the Becker Private Equity Business Podcast ranked number 1 this week in the Apple Business News ranking. So a great week for that. God bless anybody who's listening and downloading, and thank you very much. Sixth, the Barbie movie hit $1 billion in sales at the box office. I have not yet dressed up as Barbie to go watch the Barbie movie, but fascinating to watch, and I say that jokingly. But fascinating to see what they've done with this franchise. Amazing. Seventh, Apple lost about $150 billion in its market cap last week. Again, it's about a $3 trillion company. It went down 5% after showing slowing growth. Obviously, last week, Amazon had a great week. Apple had what was thought of as a bad week. I think people shouldn't bet against Apple. Apple's got their new iPhone coming out soon, and iPhone sales have been down, and that's the ecosystem that drives almost everything they have. But I think those iPhone sales are going to rebound, at least anecdotally. When I went to go replace my phone, somebody at my carrier said, wait until September, October. They got a new phone coming out. You might as well just wait until then. And I bet that message is being repeated every place to people looking to replace phones. I think people have held their phones longer and are probably ready to buy a new phone pretty soon. We're 3 years into these phones. And I think and a lot of our family is as well. And I just think there's a lot of that out there, a lot of pent-up demand that I think will get satisfied. The iPad and Mac sales are down because the pent-up demand was already hit. But I think the iPhone will rebound this fall. We'll see how it goes. But we'll see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if Apple bounces back well this fall. Eighth, thrilled this week to present at the Seattle Science Foundation Spine Fellows event, the 14th Annual Spine Fellows event. It's amazing what they do. We'll have a separate podcast for Becker's Hospital Review on 16 notes and stats regarding spine surgery and what's going on in the spine business. Finally, ninth, and this is after all nothing, thrilled to play in a charity golf outing today with a foursome. And this is for the charity Helping Hands Network, which is in support of a friend's son who passed away, who is just a magnificent young man, Kenny Rudin. So excited to play in that. Again, Helping Hands Network, magnificent charity. If anybody has any comments or questions, feel free to text me at any time at 773-766-5322. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity Business Podcast.